Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SOBA 2022 Johor chapter. Momentarily, we will start the session, so do take your seats in the hall or the ballroom. And a bit of housekeeping, I will request all of you to put your phone into vibrate mode or silent mode, or you can also off the phone for the time being, yeah? So that we will not have any disruption when we do the discussion. And as well, you can still enjoy your coffee because coffee is outside there, and some snacks for you too. After the session's over, around about 11:30ish or 12, we will then adjourn to the lunch session at the level 1 Makan Kitchen area. Okay, so do take note on that.
Arif!
What? Did someone call me?
Over here, Arif. I can sense that you are in need of SME financing.
Is the sound coming from here? How does it know I need SME financing? Am I dreaming?
Don't worry, I'm here to help you. Powered by CGC, I'm SME is Malaysia's first SME financing referral platform. No collateral, hassle-free, response within 2 working days. Go ahead, take out your phone.
Okay.
Log on to imsme.com.my and follow these steps. Step 1. Key in financing requirements. Step 2. Share your business details. Step 3. Register or log in. Step 4. Compare and choose. Your application has been submitted successfully. You'll hear from us in the next 2 working days.
No way! Just like that and it's done? Wow, so easy!
We're glad that I'm SME could help SMEs like Arif.
Everyone's talking about digitalization. Build web store, advertise online, cost, time, so much to do.
Don't worry, Digi Business makes it stress-free for you. Zero digitalization cost with their connectivity plans.
Not to mention free training and technical support. It's so easy.
Zero headaches too.
Hello? Okay, let me just... Okay, I got it. Every day so many calls. My customer just love my voice.
Hey, just use their virtual office hotline lah. You can take your calls anywhere.
Digi Business means making business friendly. Not just for you, for your customer also.
Hello? Jason MC again. You pass me Sam's later.
Why not you use their HR management app? It can help you to manage your staff matters and reduce paperwork too.
It's okay. I can go over to check on my sales also. Good time management.
The time you spend traveling, you can already set up shop online.
Yeah, I know. I can share my offers so much faster using digital advertising. I want to clone myself too, you know.
Get Digi Business to help. Then you can focus on growing your business.
So total will be 26 ringgit and 55 cents.
You should get their payment terminal solution too.
Grow your business the business-friendly way.
Driven by a vision to excel in the digital era, you are redefining the future of your organization. And Digi Business is advancing its industry-leading technology and solutions, built and designed to accelerate your business transformation. Together, let's revolutionize the operational landscape of the oil and gas industry. Transform the ports and logistics services with ultra connectivity, powering intelligent business operations. Advance the financial sector with next-gen banking services and secured unified communications. Reinvent the way of work for utilities providers, elevating service performance through smart grid infrastructure. As your trusted digital partner, we're committed to your visions. Together, let's create new possibilities and shape the future of the industry today.
Your journey with the SHIP campus begins here. There are countless opportunities to learn outside the classroom at the SHIP campus. Here at the Opera Theatre, learning is amplified in this great hall that holds over 470 students. Learn in the morning with a lecturer or catch a live performance at night, only at the Opera Theatre. Our 3 futuristic command centers or computer labs are designed with cool themes, such as the Pentagon, Mars rover, and Millennium Falcon 2.0, and are fully equipped with the latest technology to help you gain access to new information and new ideas. The Francis Light Library is home to many informative books and resources that will expand your mind and your world. Choose between a quiet study area or kick back at our comfortable, relaxed study area. Just remember to keep your voice down. Right now, you're probably wondering where this ship has sailed to. Study with your friends in private or hold group discussions at Brighton Beach Boxes. Our theme study areas featuring some of the most iconic locations in the world. Relax and unwind with our amazing facilities. Get your tan on by the beach at our Bondi Beach interactive area. Choose some pool at the Wembley or sing your heart out at the Voice. Do all this and more aboard the SHIP campus. Remember, studying isn't just about books and lectures, it's about spending time with friends and enjoying the best years of our lives. Peninsula Student Residences is our signature student accommodation, mere footsteps away from the campus. Campus life has never been so stylish and chic. Chill out with your friends at our designer student lounges inspired by famed world explorers and exotic locations. Oh, and if you're craving for a snack, head over to the Windjammer Cafe and take a stroll at the Sunset Deck. And the best part? No matter where your academic journey takes you, Peninsula College is your start to a fulfilling campus life and education excellence. Located inside an industrial park, you can work part-time while studying with our Jom Bekerja Sambil Belajar program, where you can gain real-life work experience and equip yourself to be an employment-ready graduate. Let your dreams set sail at the SHIP Campus Penang's iconic education and lifestyle campus. How can you apply?
Thousands of small businesses are struggling during these tough times. Can our economy rebound from all of this?
Grandma, it's not working.
If one way doesn't work, try another way.
The career market is full of hope and uncertainty. Whether you're a student in search of an amazing internship or a company looking for an intern to help you grow, an employee who wants to get stronger and reach higher, or a university here to guide your students, we got you. This is MyNext by Talent Corp, an all-in-one, easy-to-use platform that brings students, companies, universities, and the workforce together. MyNext has many parts. Let's talk about them. MyNext Talent helps you understand your strengths and weaknesses via the MyNext profiling suite, builds up your English skills, explore potential career paths, and helps you land the internship you really want. Here's what it can do. You can get very detailed analysis of your strengths and weaknesses. Complete and print out your resumes right on the platform. And get matched automatically to the internship you want. But this platform is not just for students. If you're already in the workforce, MyNext can provide the same detailed analysis of your personal and professional traits and allow you to complete your resume right on the MyNext dashboard. MyNext Company helps employers scout ideal internship candidates right on the platform and connects them instantly. Finally, there is a place in Malaysia where interns and employers can find each other easily. On top of that, companies can even be endorsed with double tax deduction incentives from Talent Corp's National Structured Internship Program, MySIP, all through the MyNext platform. And MyNext University can help university counselors in crafting the ideal plans of intervention for your institution through the MyNext analytical and coaching dashboard that provides institutions with detailed data points of students within the institution based on their MyNext profiling results to help your students grow. MyNext helps you supercharge your professional development. It's like having a whole team behind you for the biggest transition of your life. This is MyNext by Talent Corp. Give us 10 minutes to show you how you can kickstart this amazing journey.
We have what it takes to go global. With a diverse range of sectors, let MATRADE take you there. Take a step towards being export ready. Get equipped with the information and skills you'll need. We'll match you with buyers worldwide and help you build connections for you to be a global champion, offering world-class products and services. Get ready to set the standards and go further. Make a difference, because trade matters. The world awaits you. The time to export is now.
years difficult time of the pandemic, we start to see a lot of SMEs coming back.
Year on year, the quality of submissions improved vastly. It is clear that our SME are well ahead of the curve and are ready to take their place amongst public business companies.
SOBA Award has been very instrumental in nurturing and growing our SMEs. This is one of the best platforms.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and salam sejahtera, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Welcome to the SOBA 2022 Lab Johor Bahru. SOBA 2021, we focused on hashtag Save Our SMEs, where supporting business survival and recovery as the anchor of our SOBA program. Now, moving forward to SOBA 2022, the idea is to optimistically encourage Malaysian businesses to focus on how to sustain one's business, optimize with whatever resources in hand to accelerate their business growth with resilience while thriving in the post-pandemic world. Hence, that is why hashtag SOAR. If you're joining us online via Facebook or YouTube, we would like to thank you and welcome once again. My name is Raymond Chia, and I will be your host for today. Ladies and gentlemen, Star Media Group is delighted to welcome Credit Guarantee Corporation Malaysia Berhad, CGC, DG, PKT Logistics Group Sundaram Berhad, and RHB Bank Berhad as our main sponsor. Round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Talent Corp Malaysia as our co-sponsor. A big thank you also to official trade promotion partner MATRADE, supporting partner Bursa Malaysia, auditor BDO, official media partner 988 and Surya radio station. Thank you, and we are very excited to have all the heavyweights on board with us today. We hope that this great working partnership will continue for many years to come. We are grateful for your expert advice, guidance, and support throughout the award process. And not forgetting our strategic partners from various business organizations and associations who thank you for your time, commitment, and building a knowledgeable workforce, a responsible community, and a progressive society. Now, ladies and gentlemen, SOBA 2022 recognizes the important role of local businesses play towards building our nation and encourages businesses to achieve new milestones and push the boundaries in achieving greater heights. And along that note, this year's SOBA 2022 LAB stands for Learn, Aspire, Build, in organized via series of webinars addressing valuable business insights. To learn more about SOBA 2022 online application, for those who are joining us online, you may scan the QR code on the top right, or just go visit our website at www.soba.com.my. Well, we will kickstart the first session today by addressing the topic of discussion on adapt and evolve to build a more resilient supply chain. If you have any questions for our speakers, for attendees here in DoubleTree, we will have a Q&A session at the end of this discussion. For those of you who are viewing from Facebook and YouTube, you may post in the comment section your questions. Lastly, and most importantly, please remember, learn, aspire, and build. Now, before we start, let me introduce our moderator and our panelists for today. Our moderator for the first session this morning is Mr. S. Jai Shankar, Sustainability Lead and Director of Oil and Gas, Chemical and Energy Section of MATRADE. Round of applause for Jai. Now, Jai is a KL Knight with first-class economic degree from University Malaya, an MBA in e-commerce from Edith Cowan University of Australia, an executive education from University of Cambridge, UK, on circular economy and sustainability strategies. His 20 years plus career includes stints in 2 promotion agencies, namely Malaysian Timber Council, MTC, Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, MATRADE, and media publications such as the New Straits Times newspaper and Malaysian Business Magazine. He also had a spell at Institute Strategic and International Studies, ISIS Malaysia, when he was seconded there as a chief editor for multidisciplinary report commissioned by the Malaysian Cabinet to assess the impact of Malaysia's privatization program. Now at MATRADE, his experience include leading trade promotion and communication projects in various regions. Round of applause again for Jai. Now Jai, I would like to welcome you on stage. Thank you. And I would like to also introduce to you Mr. Kuan Eugene, the Chief Marketing Officer of PKT Logistics Group, Sdn Bhd. Mr. Kuan has more than 20 years of work experience in the fields of business development, logistics operation, fleet maintenance, corporate planning as well. He obtained his Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of Melbourne, Australia. Now, after serving companies such as PUMM, FedEx, Northern Corridor Implementation Authority, and DHL, he then joined PKT in June 2015 and is tasked with leading PKT's diversification plans. Round of applause for Mr. Eugene, Kuan Eugene. Mr. Kuan, can I invite you to be on stage? Thank you. As well, I would like to introduce Mr. Max Chua Kok Lim, Vice Chairman, Malaysia Entrepreneurs Development Association, PUMM, Johor State. Now, Max has 19 years of experience in the food industry, starting from trainee chef in Singapore. He also worked in the United Kingdom and as well as in Dubai, involved in several food industries such as sushi production factory, grocery mall kitchen, restaurant and hotel catering. Now, during the MCO in 2020, Max was involved in the supply chain such as supply frozen and dry food to local restaurants, hotels, international school, and hospital. Round of applause for Mr. Max Chua Kok Lim. I invite you to on stage as well. Thank you. And as well, let me introduce you to our panelists, the final panelists here, Mr. Ashwindran Kumaran, Project Director of SJ Verit Sdn Bhd. Ashwin comes with more than 12 years of experience at SJ Verit Sdn Bhd, beginning from scrap and surplus management and diversifying into industrial waste management and performing duties as a project director for all types of expendables and generated at Rapid Project in Pengerang, Malaysia's largest oil and gas project. Ashwin has been in the recycling industry with expertise of project management and asset recovery for his clients. Now, SJ ventured into scheduled waste integrated treatment and disposable facilities in Johor. And the completion of this one-stop solution was led by Ashwindran himself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ashwin on stage. And now I would like to hand over the mic to Jai for him to kick off the SOBA 2022 lab session. Over to you, Jai.
Hello. Thank you very much, Raymond. Thank you for the superstar-like introduction. Made us feel
Indeed.
Very good. Anyway, salam sejahtera, selamat pagi, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You know, on behalf of Star Media Group, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for being kind enough to turn up on a Monday morning. I am sure that would not have been very easy. So our hope is that, you know, your time spent today will be meaningful. And for that to happen, we are very lucky to have a sort of very eminent panelists today, where we will basically talk about different aspects of supply chain. In particular, the topic today that we are trying to sort of look into is how do you adapt and evolve to build a more resilient supply chain. Now, clearly supply chain management plays an integral part in most businesses and is essential for a company's success and customer satisfaction. Now, how then can leaders like all of y'all, right? I'm sure all of y'all are playing a leadership role in some aspect of your respective companies. How then are you able to build a resilient supply chain which allows you to prepare for a very fast-paced and very uncertain future? More so, you know, because of all the stuff that has been happening around the world for us as businesses as well as policymakers. So those are some of the areas that we thought we will touch on. So in the case of our panelists, you know, maybe we can sort of, you know, focus our priorities in terms of the discussion in areas related to, you know, planning, sourcing, procurement. These are all very experts, by the way, so I don't think so be too much of difficulty for them to look into it. Also, maybe we can touch a bit on the trends and the changes that's happening in the supply chain world. And finally, perhaps, and I think maybe this would be like probably one of the thing most important in a lot of people's minds is how do you address some of the challenges. With that, maybe I would like to, like, you know, I'll start with Eugene first, perhaps. And maybe, Eugene, if you can, for the benefit of the crowd, you can start maybe touching on some of the key highlights that you think you'd like to share on regards to supply chain. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jai. As a logistics service provider, of course, I have to do some self-promotion for the company. I think logistics is something that you usually outsource if your business has grown to a stage where you feel you want to focus on your core business. So PKT as a logistics service provider is, you know, one of the candidates, if not the candidate, to help you lighten the burden in terms of smoothing out the supply chain kinks, issues, and to be a better partner so that you can focus on, if you're in F&B business, on how to get the right products at the right time, at the right freshness to your customers, where it matters most. Yeah, so Jai, that'll be the angle that I'll come from.
It's interesting because you guys have done a wonderful job. PKT has built itself to become one of the more, I think, prominent supply chain companies in Malaysia. So clearly you're talking from a lot of experience. I'll come back to that later on. Perhaps Max, if you can as well, your perspective will be largely a bit different because you are coming more from the F&B sector. So are there some broad areas that you want to touch on in regards to supply chain?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Max from this One Fooling Sdn Bhd. So our company are mainly supply the frozen fruit and those food material to the local restaurant. Okay, so I think the most challenge for us is deal with our food manufacturer, especially when we deal with overseas food manufacturer. Okay, because the food manufacturer, they will only produce the products once they receive our order. So normally they will ask the forecast about 3 to 6 months, even more. Like for example, this month is September, so we need to give the order on December until February for the 3 months orders. So the challenge is some of the products the shelf life is only 6 months. So minus the logistic period, it say they take about 30 days. So when they reach our warehouse, it's only left 5 months. So we need to clear all these products within this period before the expire date. So we need to make sure our customer, the restaurant, they won't close down. If say that they close down the restaurant, we need to find other new customer to clear our products. So this is the most challenge I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Max, so essentially it's about efficiency, yeah? So we'll come to that issue later on. So Ashwin, you come from a completely different perspective, right? So your business is ultimately very domestic oriented, yet there's a big supply chain component. So how do you see this issue of supply chain at this point of time?
All right, good morning everybody. First of all, we'd like to thank you all for attending this function today, because I know it's a Monday morning, and we will try to be as active and as entertaining as possible as well, because otherwise we'll be seeing a few bunch of sleepy heads in front. So later, Mr. Jai has promised to sing a song as well for you guys, to get entertained.
Sprinkler will work.
All right, so getting back to my point of view, how from which angle I want to contribute today is the fact that diversification is important. We saw what happened to us from the year 2020, the pandemic that has caused all of us probably, to a certain extent, the business scaling down or laying out your employees and so on and so forth. But in an angle that if we can diversify our business accordingly to move out just from our core business activities, we can generate other revenue streams that will be able to assist us in a rainy day. So we better prepare the umbrella before it rains, right? So that's the angle I'll be trying to contribute today to our...
Ashwin, maybe I can take it on from there, yeah? It's interesting you spoke about diversification. What about diversification in terms of your sourcing needs? Because one of the biggest things that's happened post-COVID, right, is that a lot of companies realize that their usual supplier might not be able to supply. Right, and then there's a lot of scramble to look at alternatives. People were not ready, basically. And this is going to be a big problem moving forward constantly, because you always have issues, right? After COVID, you had the Ukrainian issue, and then now you got maybe there's potential problems in Taiwan, right? So are Malaysian companies ready for this? And what are how do you go about looking into diversifying your supply chain?
All right. To answer that clearly, I think we have to look into our Malaysian culture itself. We ourselves become very complacent. The moment we have somebody who is supplying us constantly, we take things for granted. We think that, okay, no matter what, we already have these channels that's coming in, and we will have our goods sent to us, or we are going to be supplying our services or our goods to this specific client. The important thing is we must have a system from within our organization to which we have to source for other potential suppliers, other potential buyers per se. Because if we fail to do so, what we're doing ourselves, in the event that the one particular client that we are depending on is going to be off the market or so on and so forth, we're going to be stuck, like what Max just mentioned earlier. When they have a product and then they're not able to sell it to a certain restaurant, they're going to look for other options to make sure that the product is being sold, the product is being pushed to the market. So I believe that, yeah, it's down to our culture, we Malaysians are like that, anything also boleh lah, tak ada masalah, kau team, right? So I think if we can just divert ourselves from that kind of perspective, there shall be an improvement on how we can deal with this scenario.
Kau team everything lah. The world is changing. I think the message here is this. The world has changed so much that a lot of us don't realize it and maybe are not planned for. So Max, when you had that problem, right, and you do tend to import a lot of your products overseas, right? You carry some foreign brands and all that. What did you do in terms of possibility of diversifying your supply chain? Or you also like chill only?
Hello.
Yeah.
So actually, before we bring in the products to sell to the local market, we have to make sure those products is suitable for the local owner they want to use, right? We cannot simply like the manufacturer, they have a lot of products they wanted to push to Malaysia, but we can, if say that we bring everything from overseas, but at the end we cannot sell it off. This is the risk for us too, because we cannot sell it. We cannot sell it anymore already. We need to. Let's say we have to throw it away. So this is the risk for us. So for the local market, we always need to research the restaurant and the hotel. We need to always get in touch with them. Like what are they going to use? What sort of ingredient they are looking for? So we will ask them to get a forecast. Like, okay, like this ingredient, we will need how many for next few months. So then it is easy for us. Because if say that the manufacturer is for local, it's easy. So let's say they wanted today, they wanted to order tomorrow, we can get it today. But for the foreign products like dairy products or some certain products, which is only can produce by overseas, this is the main challenge. Yeah, we need to always have the forecast for every single product.
Any food manufacturers here, he's willing to buy from you, in other words. If he can produce what he's importing. Thanks, Max. Eugene, you're interesting because you come from an enabling process point of view, right? So I'm curious to know, like, and you would have faced a lot of challenges as well. How did PKT itself, once manufacturers like Max and other players start changing their supply chain and start sourcing from elsewhere, how did you all respond? How did you start planning for that?
I think flexibility is key. In Mac's situation, if they decide they want to source it from another country, then a logistics service provider like us needs to have the network, needs to have the resources to be able to suddenly switch from Thailand, let's say, switch to Vietnam to source for his processed food. So for us, we have always built a strong network where we are able to adapt to the needs of our customers. One of which I like to name is a convenience store that we are supporting. They started growing from just one outlet, and when you deliver to one outlet, any mom pop also can do. But as you grow to 100 stores, 200 stores, 300 stores, that's where a lot of adaptation needs to happen, and you need to think of how to do it the most efficiently. And also, especially just now, Max was talking about expiry date. A lot of convenience store food is only 3 days expiry date. So how do you cope with that? How do you make sure that you deliver it at the right time? Because if you deliver it late, all your whole batch of products cannot be sold already. It's already 3 days after it is produced. So we have been constantly adapting with this customer, and actually I need to be honest also. This customer has really taken their supply chain within their control. The owners are really hands-on. They really understand what their business needs are and how to adapt the supply chain. And PKT has always been working closely with them to adapt so far. So from one outlet to 300 outlets, from one outlet downtown KL to now, having outlets in JB, in Penang. We've been growing so much with them. I think to again do a little bit of self-promotion, if you need some logistics service provider that can grow your needs, please contact PKT.
Thanks, Eugene. You raise an interesting point, right? How much of involvement should a company management get involved in their logistic needs, right? To a lot of times what they do, just call the logistic company we outsource right? But so what you're saying is time now that the C-level, the top management has to get a lot more involved. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, definitely. I think supply chain is as important as your business strategy, as your marketing strategy, because knowing what your customers want alone is not enough. You need to also deliver it at the right time, and then, like Mac's case, at the right freshness also. So, and especially for us, we are we follow your instruction, we follow customers' instruction. We translate their needs into maybe in our back-end processes how we keep up with the owner's needs. But it's still the owner, the CEO, the CIO, CMO, their role to ensure they understand the key things, deliver it at the right place at the right time. And because the supply chain is actually not just from the warehouse and the delivery, sometimes it also goes back to if you have a central kitchen, what time your central kitchen produces the food. Do you produce it throughout 24 hours, or do you do it only one shift during the day, and so on and so forth. There's so many variables you can balance both sides, and sometimes competing needs also. If you squeeze your central kitchen too much, your logistics will enjoy the benefits. But if you squeeze your logistics, then your central kitchen will have more room to breathe. So how to achieve this balance? That's the key thing for the CIOs and the CEOs to grasp, to really make, to really deliver, as I said, the right products at the right time, at the right place.
Max, you would probably classify yourself as a SME, right? So as a SME, can you afford, or at least at this point of time, right, do you, or as an MD or head of a company, do you get involved in it? Or is that something that you delegate? And moving forward, is this something that you are going to pay more attention to?
Actually, my point of view, no matter what position we always need to understand our customers, right? So we cannot deny on our salesperson or even our admin, right? We have to know what our customer they need from us, right? And even sometimes when we have faced some problem with deliver or logistics, something like that, we need to solve it out. Otherwise, sometimes the salesperson, when they did something wrong, right, they dare not to tell us.
But do you plan? Is there a planning thought process put in for logistic arrangements? Or is it something that you guys are doing on an ad hoc basis?
Actually, we have our own logistic teams to deliver to our products.
Right.
Yeah.
So for you, it's important. Would that be a message for all the SMEs out there, that take your logistics seriously?
Actually, logistic for supply chain is the most important thing. So if say that our customer is out of our service area, we will need logistic.
Right.
Yes. So, but when we find a logistic, we still need to know the cost that the logistic will charge us.
Right.
Yes. Because sometimes our products, normally customer, they won't order a box of the seafood from us. So let's say they only order a carton, and then the cost already over our profit. So we need to find other ways.
In your case, Ashwin, right, talking about how do you choose a service provider? One, two is, have you had ever an experience of choosing the wrong service provider and having your supply chain messed up?
Well, basically, I have a bit of a different problem with these guys because they have to deal with the product itself before it expires.
Right.
Me, on the other hand, I deal with the material after it expires. So we are talking about scrap, and then we are talking about surplus material from oil and gas projects, which is a surplus, to the requirement, and then we're talking about waste management. So a little bit of background. I think we ourselves become the service provider. We ourselves are handling the logistics for our types of material because it's on a large scale, or a bigger volume. So to answer you, Mr. Jay, I think there's got to be like because I want to touch back again the diversification part of it, on how we can expand our supply chain. Because like in my instance, when we ourselves become the service provider, the more businesses that we have, it means more logistic jobs for us as well at the same time, in terms of transporting our material, utilizing our equipments and so on so forth. So for our organization, it's become like a bit of a light bulb moment, So in the beginning, when we were doing surplus and scrap jobs only, when a tender came about and it's like for waste management project, it's like a light bulb moment. It's like, okay, fine, let's see. It's not so different than what we do right now. As a matter of fact, it's a bit more critical. Why? Because it's rubbish, end of the day. It's domestic waste. So we have to improve. We have to do something that people are not doing. We have to do it right. We do something, you have to do it right. So we probably invest for better equipments, for better trucks, for better strategies, and so on and so forth. Then we moved on, and then we started this waste management with zero knowledge. But we knew it's about the same, you see. And then as we went on, looking at the volume of waste management that we're doing, there's a light bulb moment. Oh my God, we probably could operate our own landfill with this kind of volume. And that came about, and we started operating our own landfill in Pengerang district, or in Johor. And then as we went by, we were doing a scheduled waste and all that. And then there's another light bulb moment. Scheduled waste is a bit more critical. It's basically it involves the DOE. Perhaps you got to get the right licensing and all that. And right now, that's what we're venturing into, with the cooperation of a very important GLC in the state. We will be developing probably the biggest integrated scheduled waste hub in Johor that is coming soon. So it has got to be these small trigger points that is coming along our career path, our business, that we have to adapt. Like I think part of our program, right? We got to adapt and build on something. So if it's relevant to what we can do, we can go in. In a how do you say it? In a very layman term, there'll be a warung selling nasi lemak, right? The nasi lemak probably is going very well. Maybe the makcik will feel that, maybe curry puff will also jalan lah. Put the curry puff on the table. Maybe popiah is on the table. Maybe popiah is very good, but curry puff not so good. Cut it out. You can cut off your investment there, and then invest more in popiah. And as you grow, you just develop your product, you develop your knowledge, and that's how you sustain businesses. So that's my point.
But basically, in order to do that informed decision, right, you need data. You need information at your hand, right? So for the longest time, I think a lot of Malaysian SMEs, they've done it because of gut feeling, right, and because of experience. The founder CEO, 20 years experience, he's running, he says, look, I know, and all this stuff, right, which is fine and good. Now, moving forward, is there any enabling processes, technologies that can help? I mean, Eugene, how does PKT in itself do it? I mean, what are the areas you look to focus on to improve the decision-making process?
Okay, when we sometimes take on large customers who have already an established business base, what we need to do is analyze all their transactional data. And from there, we detect trends. We try to come up with a setup that is most tailored towards their cargo profile. I think everyone's familiar with Pareto rule. 80% of your volumes, or 80% of problems, or 80% of your revenues comes from 20% of your products. So amazingly, every time when we analyze our customers' data, we see actually 80% of their volumes come from 20% of their products. So there's always, even if it's a manufacturing customer, if it's a convenience store, F&B, you always see 20% of their goods generating the most volume. So then when we design, say, a warehouse, or we design our distribution pattern, we will always use focus the most resources on that 20%. And that gives a very cost optimal way to design the warehouse, set up the warehouse. Instead of, you know, you go in without data and then you just try your way lah. That is you will be doomed to failure if you do that. So from our training, we always depend on data. Data is so important for us to set up the warehouse so that we don't go wrong, or we minimize the chances of something going wrong. That so far, unfortunately, is still very manual. It is still using Excel spreadsheets and so on. I would love to be able to hire a robot who would be able to do all this data analysis, but no, because every customer has different needs, different data sets, different operating environment. It is always, it needs to be a very focused, a very special customized way of looking at the data, and coming up with is actually always a very unique way for every different customer. But talking about robots and so on, there are avenues where SMEs are able to use robots. When you think about robots now, when you hear the name, the term robot, you may first think about, sometimes you see in certain F&B outlets, you see the robot, you know, with the music bringing your food out. In our case, I'm not talking about that sort of robots. I'm talking about robots which you can plant into a PC. You buy a license, it comes with a bot, and that bot will help you process data. So for us, we always have to deal with orders. Customers tell us, please ship out this many orders to these outlets by tomorrow. So traditionally, we use humans to do that. They will just take the order and then either it's PDF or Excel, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, upload into our system to generate our pick list and so on. But recently, as recent as about 3 years ago, we started to use bots, or we call it robotics process automation, which actually I do have a short video to show. Okay. So usually customers will send the orders to us. Like I said, a human will copy, paste, upload into our system to generate it, to process it. But we started to apply a robot to replace this gentleman in the middle. So this robot, next slide please. So you see a screen recording of the robot in action. So this robot is taking data from a PDF file. It can even do OCR, optical character recognition, copy the data, paste it into the template that we need to upload into our system. So imagine if you last time hired a clerk or customer service, just copy paste, what happens? Sometimes they make mistakes, they copy the wrong data, or they miss out something. But with the robot doesn't miss out anything. And the robot doesn't ask for Chinese New Year leave or Raya leave. 7 days a week, they will work 24 hours a day. So this is something that we've adopted, not just for this one, not just for this function. We are also applying it to many other ways, many other processes in our warehouse, in our operations. Even something like taking the temperature of our trucks, because we monitor the temperatures of all our trucks which are running. We want to have a sanity check twice a day that the temperatures are within the tolerance. So it will go into our GPS, just copy the data, download the data, and then after that, run it against some certain criteria that we've set to make sure the trucks are operating at the right temperature. So this really helps speed up a lot of our processes. We don't need to use humans that sometimes merajuk because you didn't give a large enough bonus. Don't have this problem at all.
Then you also got nobody to blame when something goes wrong. Anyway, excellent point made. But Max, PKT is a large company, right? So it's a very integrated, and they need to do a lot of these stuffs. But you know, what about smaller companies? At what point does investment into digitalization makes sense? And then how do smaller companies, you know, adapt these on a progressive way without, you know, affecting their bottom line too much?
Actually, in F&B industry, a lot of owner they still using their traditional way. They are a bit afraid to use technology to place the order, you know, because I think in the old culture, old-fashioned chef, the owner doesn't know what the chef want. Only the chef know what ingredient they want. So unless the owner will teach them how to use the software to place the order, otherwise they will still send the order by WhatsApp, right? We try to give I think the standard like a standard format to them. Okay, let's say for this restaurant, what kind of ingredient you normally use? You just tick and send to us, but they refuse. So I think in F&B industry, they still need some time to educate the person in charge to use the latest technology to place their order.
As a principle of sort, right, do you sort of negotiate this with your suppliers, or do you use as a criteria when you're talking to suppliers or onboarding suppliers, looking at this and say, look, can you guys improve? Can you guys improve? Is that a communication that you give to your supply chain so that it improves your efficiency and so on and so forth?
Yes. What I can say is a bit hard time for me, because once they are very happy to meet us when we got new products. But some of them a bit confusing when we introduce the new technology for for place the order. Yeah. So let's say that some of the restaurant owner, they say, oh, I'm willing to use the new technology or new system to place their order, but at the end of the day, the chef reject it to use it, so the system doesn't work. So sometimes the system is only work for the hotel and the biggest company like hotel, hospital, and the international school. So normally they will they use the system to send the order to us. So it's very clearly and very efficiently for us to process their order.
Thanks, Max. So I should taking up from where Max was mentioning, right? Is it because a lot of companies do not see the urgency and do not see the risk of them not adopting digitalization? Are we at a point where the Malaysian SMEs really don't see the problem facing them or looming?
Well, I personally believe if COVID never happened, I think nobody would even be talking about digitalization, you see, because it was never really relevant until a point that everybody couldn't leave the house and had to operate from home. I believe that there are now businesses that basically they live in a 4-bedroom house. One bedroom is becoming an office now, where they do the packaging and delivering and whatnot. And it's something that is completely inevitable. In fact, in our future businesses as well, we are looking at to a maximum or at least a minimum range of robotization, in a sense, so that everything can be automated. So it's inevitable. It is already happening right now. People are using digital signatures, most of the document, and it's considered it's valid, it's legit, and we ourselves are moving towards that direction. So whether MCO happened or not, digitalization would have been on a whole, but this is something that is completely inevitable. Everybody is doing it right now.
If you're a smaller company, right, you need the right set of people, right? The people factor then comes into play. Do you train them, or do you have, does it come first level at the awareness at the C level? Who is the catalyst for change? And then how do you make the change to come about?
It has to come from right above. It has to be from the managing director, from the CEO of the company, from the owner of the company. They have to enforce such a standard, such a ruling, so that they improve the quality of their own businesses. So if you're a business owner right now and you are thinking on how can you go about with this, I think there are very reasonably well-priced software packages that is available, and most of the system right now is not difficult at all. It's pretty user-friendly. You just buy, you set it up, like I think there was an advertisement earlier. Within half an hour, you can set up an entire shopping list over there, and people will be able to log in and just buy from your website. And you can operate all from within 4 walls, literally. You don't need to go out, look for customers. As long as you have a medium that is already established, then you're pretty much done. Then you grow from there.
Max, in the case of your transformation, right, I presume you started the process going, but how do you ensure that there was buy-in from your team, one, and two, there was enough trained people to carry out what you wanted to take place?
Actually, in our food supply chain, we have facing the other issue is a price war. All right. So sometimes the owner is the F&B owner is still very smart. So from supplier A, they give, let's say, $20. Supplier B, they give 90 and 50. So all the owner, they depend on the price. Yeah. So if say that if we need to approaching them oftenly to afford their we need to approach them on time to make sure they keep they know us well. Yeah.
Hello. No, the mic is okay. It's better now. So basically, there are things that are happening on the ground that's pushing you to make the change. Yeah. Eugene, just taking that question further. Yeah. In terms of PKT runs the CHIP campus and all that. Is that trying to address an issue within the industry where you don't have enough supply chain experts to make informed judgment?
I think there's a saying, right? If life throws you lemons, then you make lemonade. Maybe later on when I have a pitch deck, I'm talking about PKT's journey. What we have always faced are changes, but we are very lucky that our CEO is somebody who's very willing to try new things, invest into new areas, invest into technology. So I think Mac's problem probably maybe there are these kind of stakeholders who not so willing to change. But for us, every time we put in certain resources, then we find, hey, this resource we can have dual purpose, dual usage. I can use this for this, and I can use this for that. And then when you start investing into that, and then you say, hey, I can also use this and that. So along the way, I guess an entrepreneur should always think like that, should always adapt to the situation, like Ash was saying, adapt to the situation, and then you build your business, put in 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks to expand it. So actually, Jai, you were talking about our SHIP campus. We built a campus next to our warehouse. In other colleges or other warehouses, you won't find a college right next to a warehouse. In fact, in Shah Alam, our headquarters, the campus is right in the middle of our office. And why did we do that in the first place? Is because we felt that students need to be trained at the workplace. Right now, colleges, they study, especially public universities, they are usually like UUM, right almost literally in the middle of the jungle. Or you have very far away I was just seeing a poster today at the airport, Edu City. But where are the industries? The industries are far away, they're in Senai. And then, let's say business and finance, they're downtown in JB. So they don't have that, the training, they don't have the exposure. So we thought we should bridge that gap. because the education ministry always says we don't have industry relevant graduates. Well, how? To place them right next to where they're supposed to work next time. So that's what we did. And then when we built the campus in Batu Kawan, then we looked around and say, wow, there are so many multinationals here. You have Hewlett Packard, you got Lam Research, you got JBill, all the Silicon Valley companies. They're right here in Batu Kawan. And what do they need? They need manpower. They estimate the manpower shortage at 15,000 people. They need 15,000 people there. So for us, wow, jackpot. If I can supply manpower to all these factories, all these multinationals, then I'll be of additional service already. Instead of being just a logistics service provider who wanted graduates who are industry relevant, now I can start even training production operators, engineers, finance people, HR people, all supply to the whole Batu Kawan Industrial Park. So, and that is taking one building block and building another and building another, and that's, I believe that's how entrepreneurs grow big. So they were not, given durian runtuh, suddenly one big business. Maybe there are some. But the real, true-blooded entrepreneur would do that, grow their business step by step as the opportunities come.
Touching about that entrepreneurship, right? So companies that have been, you started grounds up. There's a lot of small micro companies here. For example, just now I spoke to a company there. They're starting on a journey. They just got their third branch mechanic shop, and so it's very interesting, right? So at what point do they get in a specialist in regards to supply chain, right? So they're growing, they can't afford to have a specialist, right? So at what point you got to, or you do it at the very beginning to get a specialist to manage your supply chain and look at those issues?
Well, it depends on the resources that is available to us. I think most startup companies and all that, I believe that the owners themselves are the HR manager, the owner themselves is the sales manager, the owner themselves is also the lorry driver, you see. So that's how it starts. But at a point where the business is a constant, there's a routine that is already going on, then you can venture into different directions to expand the business, and then you have somebody to take over this small, not small, of course it's very essential, these essential departments. You have to have somebody who's completely in charge to make sure that the role is well played. So yeah, to answer that, I think everybody who starts up, I believe the mechanic there, he is also the lead mechanic at the same time, right? So
that's typically how it works, right? But then you were mentioning about digitalization. It's not expensive, so that is another thought process, right, Max, as well, right? So the thought process is, oh, this is too expensive for me. I am too small to do this. Yeah, maybe you can address it, and everybody can address it. Is this a right thought process, or is it a thought process that our SMEs can afford to have? I mean, times are bad, right? And here we are talking about, oh, you got to do this, got to do that, and all that stuff, right? So is that something that they absolutely need to? There are a lot of other things they need to do as well, right? So Ashwin, a quick thoughts on that.
Well, yet again, this is something that is within our mindset. I recently have a friend who bought his golfing shoe. He bought one size bigger. He brought it back home, and then he went back to the shop. He said, I want to change, but he said, sorry, I can't change it right now. What the wife did, she's a housewife, she put it on the muda.com, to sell it off. So it can happen as long as you want to make it happen. So if a housewife also can do it, why can't business owners? That is, in a way, it's advertising yourself on what are the products that you have and what you want to sell. So cheap or not, I think there's always going to be a way, there's always going to be a route that you can follow to maximize this usage. This digitalization world is very big. It's as big as you want it to get, so the more you want, the more you can get from it.
Thanks. Max, in terms of your priority, right, when you're running your business, where do you rank supply chain? In terms of your importance, right, say cash flow, supply chain, production, whole bunch of things, right? How important is supply chain, for example, in your cost estimation, right? You're estimating your cost process, right? How big is your supply chain aspect?
Actually, for our industry, we order from our manufacturer is by cash. Yeah. So sometimes we give customer is for credit term. All right. So normally we cash flow for us is the most important, and the stock. Yes, because if say that we order a lot, some certain item we order a lot, then it's stuck in our freezer or our cold room. Then this is the stock we have to hold it on. Yeah. So the most important thing for our industry is the cash flow and the stock control.
So if you get your supply chain correct, your cash flow also moves lah, you know.
Yes.
Fair enough. Eugene, I'll do one more question and then maybe we'll open up for Q&A, yeah? But Eugene, I'm just wondering, right, you deal with a lot of different clients, right? And you see the behavior of different companies in managing their supply chain needs and all that. Are there any particular, I mean, you don't have to name names, right? So are there any particular companies that you thought, you know, doing it very well, and that was basically an integral part why they became so successful so quickly?
Yes, just now the customer I mentioned, which grew from 1 outlet to 300 outlets.
That was within, how quickly did they do that?
6 years.
Right.
5, 6 years.
So it's an FMCG, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, retail, FMCG. Yes. So in these kind of industries, is this becoming a defining factor for them to remain competitive?
There is, you made me recall that joke, you know, the different parts of the body, and then each one was saying, hey,
who's more important? You know? Okay, yeah.
And then then the asshole just stops, and then everybody gets poisoned, and they say, see, the asshole is the most important. So, but the point I'm getting at is actually, yes, your supply chain is, of course, the most important part of your business. You know, it ranks up there. I wouldn't say it's the most important. Of course, having the right marketing strategy, having you know, a good base of suppliers who can give you the products and so on is essential. But if these don't get delivered to your outlets at the right time, right place, then there goes your opportunity. Especially during MCO, when there were a lot of in-house dining wasn't allowed, and people can't even travel more than 10 km and so on. So that was when everyone was put to the gunpoint. Okay, if you don't adapt, you're going to lose out. You're going to lose your business and so on. So at that time, that was also a time when we had to make a lot of snap changes. But most recently is in May. If everyone remembers, May was a time when EPF allowed 10,000 withdrawals up to 10,000. Everyone in the F&B industry, I'm sure Max also experienced that. Suddenly everybody had lots of cash to spend. But in your back end, maybe even from your restaurant to logistics to all over, you had a shortage of workers, because especially, say, for warehouses, a lot of we depend a lot on frontliners, and PKT at the time had quite a few Sabahan Sarawakians. They come here to work. So when in May you had suddenly, government did this right move, pump prime the economy, released lots of cash into the economy. A lot of people wanted to buy food, spend on this and that. But then at the same time, the workers got 10,000. Okay, I'm going back home already. I'm going to go balik kampung. So then you suddenly had this huge surge in demand, but you suddenly had a supply issue. And that was, I think, the kind of crisis which a lot of sectors faced. Not just us, I think plantation workers and so on. All, even you remember about the chicken shortage, also farm hands, all went back. So it is this sort of these sort of moments that you need to really adapt. You are really at, placed at a gunpoint if you don't do things like putting automation in place, looking at your warehouse processes, how to cut down waste. Sometimes you don't realize, especially as an entrepreneur, you keep growing. Hey, got business, come, take, do. But then you forget or you neglect to consolidate or neglect to be efficient, to operate efficiently. So those are the times when you say, oh, okay, now I better think about my supply chain, I better think about my operating processes, how to cut down waste. If a piece of paper needs to travel through 3 hands before it reaches that guy who does some work on it, can I cut these 2 out? Can I just, from this guy number 1, deliver straight to guy number 4? Or if, a simple thing as warehouse, if just now I was talking about the 20-80 thing, if the 20% of your goods are contributing 80% of your volume, can you place them closest to where you are going to load the truck? Don't place them far deep inside your warehouse, cause your people to move front and back, and then slow down your warehouse operations. So then you need to think, okay, how do I rearrange this 20% closest? But then when it's like a balloon, you squeeze in your hand, you squeeze it, it will come out on another side. So you have to think another problem. Okay, now how do I make space for this 20%? And if I take out these old goods, where do I put them? Whole host of things. But in the end, like I said, it still needs to come from the top, because only the CEO understands why I need to adapt this for my business, and then he will drive everything. So the CEO, there's no replacement. He really needs to be hands-on in every aspect of his business.
Eugene. With that, maybe we will go into the Q&A space, yeah? Can I now invite anybody from the audience? Bolehlah dalam bahasa Inggeris, bahasa Melayu, semua boleh. Right? Any questions? Ada sebarangan soalan yang hendak dikemukakan kepada ahli panelis? And any questions need to be, you want to raise with the panelists? Yeah.
Hello dan selamat pagi semua orang dekat sini.
Pagi.
Saya Nur Fatia Hasana, saya berasal dari Sabah dan tinggal di sini. Saya umur 20 tahun dan saya keluar daripada zon selesa saya pada umur 17 tahun. Saya hidup di kalangan B40. Sangat susah dan saya perlu bekerja untuk cari duit. And then di depan rumah saya terdapat satu tempat yang sangat berpotensi untuk buat seperti logistik, oil and gas, apa semua. Tapi di Sabah tidak ada seorang pun berani nak buat bisnes. Orang yang berjaya cakap, kita perlu cari jalan penyelesaian untuk buat bisnes, untuk menyenangkan kita punya pelanggan apa semua. Jadi saya dalam umur 20 tahun ni, saya setiap hari berfikir macam mana nak buat bisnes dalam segi oil and gas dan logistik. Jadi saya harap seseorang panel boleh kemukakan jalan penyelesaian untuk kami membuat bisnes dan sebagainya. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Minta maaf tak dapat nama tadi.
Fatihah.
Fatihah, terima kasih Fatihah. So soalan dia macam ni, saya rasa is ada azam nak menjadi entrepreneur. Right, and kemungkinan besar because you have a couple of entrepreneurs and you're dealing with entrepreneurs dan sebagainya kan. So the thought process is, kalau ada kat luar ni orang yang nak buat masuk dalam perniagaan berkenaan dengan logistics, satu, adakah still ada opportunity, and that will be tricky for you. but also lebih penting is which are the areas within logistics sector tu yang mungkin ada peluang untuk inject innovation and changes and something, bring something new to the, we'll start off with Eugene and then we can areas of improvement and mana peluang dia lah. And then kalau young people want to join, macam mana?
Cik Nur Fatihah, umur baru 20 tahun. Okay, actually soalan ni selalu timbul dalam kalangan fresh graduate yang kami ambil. actually ramai yang semasa interview dia akan kata, oh sebenarnya saya nak jadi peniaga, saya nak jadi usahawan. Entah kenapa lah, maybe sekarang these millennials semua ingat tak nak kerja ni susah. Maybe dah terpesong nampak Instagram, TikTok semua nak jadi entrepreneur. But nasihat saya kepada yang usahawan, yang bakal usahawan ni ialah I think lebih baik Cik Nur Fatia dedahkan diri dulu dalam this environment office dan belajar macam mana nak kendali office dan segala aspek pengurusan lah. Because dari sana dia akan mengurangkan kemungkinan membuat kesilapan. Because dalam environment office tu you boleh nampak kenapa ada proses ini, kenapa bila buat payment voucher kena 2 orang sign bukan seorang sign. Kenapa? Sebab ianya check and balance. So seorang prepare document, seorang sign sebelum, and then lepas tu issue check ke buat transfer seorang lagi. Kenapa? Supaya ada check and balance. So supaya lain kali kalau Cik Nur Fatia jadi usahawan, you akan fikir pasal proses check and balance ni, tak kena tipu. Tapi kalau tiada pengalaman ni, mungkin Cik Nur Fatia akan ingat, oh okey lah, you buat bayaran semualah, buat check lah, buat payment voucher semua you buat seorang lah. Then kemungkinan kalau nasib tak baik, orang yang you percaya tu tidak boleh pegang amanah tu, dan dia akan tipu, akan ambil wang dan semuanya. Then that time the lesson that you learn will be very hard, very difficult. So I would advise Cik Nur Fatia, try in the corporate world, and also especially education. Do not jangan abaikan pendidikan juga. Pendidikan actually is a way for a lot of youngsters, a lot of people to keluar dari putaran kemiskinan. So education, don't forget education. It is so important for anyone, especially now when you talk about digitalization and all. Kalau tak ada pengetahuan digitalization, bila orang goreng saja, tak boleh jawab, tak boleh ikut. So yeah, please jangan abaikan pendidikan.
Siapa lagi? Anybody else wants to? Okay, Encik Max.
I think no matter which industry you want to go in, always start from basic. Because without any basic knowledge, when you're growing up, every level up you step, when you go into manager level or higher manager level, every single mistake from the basic you will know, right? Rather than you keep branding to your staff, say that hey, why this keep happening? Then why you cannot solve it? Yeah, so basic knowledge I think for me is more important when you want to start a new career.
Yeah, just to add on, Nur Fatia, saya pun dulu nak jadi peguam, nak jadi saintis, macam-macam nak jadi astronaut, semua tak jadi. But then again, I think experience is the most important and the most precious thing that I think I have. Now at 35. Maknanya I've worked more than half my life already. Dah 18 tahun dah kerja dah. And out of these 18 years, these 12 years I've been with SJ Verit, to which I was under a leader who was our managing director, who literally gave me the pathway to excel in whatever we do, you see. So to gain experience is also very important, the people, the networking that you have, who you want to follow, who you want to gain experience and knowledge from. So when you have the right channel, your success is imminent lah. And like what I think what Mr. Eugene said, tak boleh kita start, okay, terus saja usahawan. Boleh, actually can. Of course, it's your right to say so. But you can also take it step by step. As you learn and progress, you can still achieve whatever you want. 18 years later, I must say, belum lagi usahawan. still working for this company, but I'm very proud, very happy to work. You know why? Because given all the freedom to do whatever we want, to grow the company together. So that's also, I think, something that you can consider. Yeah? Thank you.
Ashwin, so kesimpulan dia, bina pengalaman, bina pengetahuan, and then take it up from there. Any other questions? We have an online question, but any other question from the audience? If not, while you're thinking, there's one question from our online audience. The question goes, what do you see the planning function in supply chain, demand and supply planning? Do you think it is critical function, and will you invest in this area? Ashwin, maybe I'll start off with you. How do you see planning function within the supply chain process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has to be factored in every single, like for example, for what we do in our projects, we have to plan ahead for such, especially supply chain. So it has to begin. We cannot we venture into something and then we want to dictate or we want to alter the course of whatever action that is already taken. That's difficult. So it has to be factored into your planning from the early stage of whatever project, whatever jobs that you want to get into. And then from there, it'll be easier for you to, it's basically a graph, right? You can just either follow the graph or you're going down the graph, at least you know what improvement plans you can take. If you're doing better than the graph that is already projected, then it's good news. But planning is absolutely important.
What about planning on your end? Do you do a lot of planning, and would you be willing to invest more in terms of that planning element within your supply chain decision making?
Actually, before we start this business, I already have my basic customer base. So from our basic customer base, we know what they want. So we have just invest some fixed equipment. So in the future, I think we will need to plan more digitalized on how to teach our customer to use the digitalized to place their order. So and then be part of this one. So I think the other things is the logistics and also the let's say how to say the internet. Yeah. So if say that we get the order from other stage, so we have to know how can we solve their problem. Yeah, so we always in the future, I think we need to more get in touch with the logistic company.
Eugene, on your end, how has planning as a component changed over time, and where do you think it's heading? No body parts jokes.
Tongue-in-cheek comment. I think most SMEs or entrepreneurs, they would be a second generation, business owner. So I'm guessing Max also is probably in those shoes, where you have a father who built a stable business, then the son tries to expand it. Same situation for my CEO. Father built, a decent sized business. Then the son came and had lots of ideas, want to grow this, and then more radical ideas. So say, talking about planning, so you need to plan to manage your father first, and know how to maybe I'm not sure, Max, I may really be going the wrong way, but the older generation. Digitalization to them, apa tu, similar. You need to convince them the benefits, or you need to plan, or you need to even structure in a way that you have more control over your IT, for example. So then you can adopt more digitalization during your business strategies. But coming back to your point, Jai, yeah, planning now has to be very data-driven. For us, like I said, our training is we really need to use data. So every time when we have a new customer who says, I've got this business, give me a proposal. First thing we'll ask is, give me your data. 3-month data. Then from there, then we will analyze how many SKUs they have, how much stock do they hold, how fast do they turn around, and then how many deliveries a day do you want, or how many deliveries a week or month do you want to your outlets. Then from there we plan. We don't go and plug from the sky and then just replicate. For example, I use this FMCG customer operating pattern, just use it for the factory. Cannot, it doesn't work. So every time when we start a new proposal, we have to go from scratch. We have to analyze the data. So I would say now planning needs to be very data driven. You really need to invest in especially getting someone who is good at Excel. Oh, I tell you, that was very hard talent to acquire. Somebody who can look at lots and lots of numbers and make sense out of it. It's almost like I think there was a show last time, A Beautiful Mind. What's his name? Kurt Russell or something? Not something. Russell Crowe. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So he's able to see a situation and then come up with a logarithm and say, oh, okay, that predicts the outcome. Almost like that lah. You need someone who is able to, is very good at Excel, has that mental stamina to stay there and really look at it, and then, but still that doesn't take the CEO, where the CEO still needs to know, okay, I want this outcome. What does the data say? And then you link it together.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We've come to the tail end of our session. Maybe I can close this by just asking all the panelists, maybe just in one word, one trend that you think will make or break the supply chain, or a company in a component within the supply chain. Eugene, just one trend that you think will make or break a company if they don't adapt or use it.
I would say automation.
Okay, that's your one word, done.
Yeah.
and no, just joking, if you want to add on.
Well, automation is in pursuit of efficiency. Yeah. So I didn't want to use efficiency because it's so, there's nothing new about efficiency, it's so boring. But actually it is.
Okay.
And automation is.
So you've got to be efficient and use automation to be efficient. Yeah. Thank you. Max, one trend that is super duper important, you got to get it right in supply chain.
Do it right.
Do it right. So whatever you do, make sure you do it right and get it right, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ashwin.
It's following whatever I'm supposed to bring up to the forum today is diversification.
Okay, wonderful. So you learn to diversify both your markets as well as your back-end supply chain.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, thank you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to our wonderful panelists. And I hand it back to Raymond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay, Eugene, Ashwin, and Max for this wonderful session of sharing on adapt and evolve to build a more resilient supply chain. For Eugene, I will request you to remain on stage. And for the rest of the gentlemen, I would like you to go back to your seats and enjoy what Eugene is supposed to present after this. Now, before we move on to the second panel discussion, we would like to once again invite Mr. Kuan Eugene, the Chief Marketing Officer of PKT Logistics Group Sdn Bhd, on stage again for his presentation. Eugene, the stage is yours.
I gave away a little, sneak preview of what I'm going to talk about, but since I only have 5 minutes, so I'll get right to it. So, if there is one message that I would like you to leave the room with, is that it's always a journey of discovery. Okay, so I'll share this journey of discovery condensed into 5 minutes of PKT. Yeah? Okay, so PKT, we are a full suite logistics company. We do from customs clearance to freight forwarding, haulage, transportation, warehousing, and so on. This, for those not in the logistics sector, might find it difficult to understand, but this means we can do everything for you. You leave all your logistics needs to someone like us, okay? And as a logistics company, we have to invest into hubs that will serve our customers. So the first one that we built is one logistics hub, which is our HQ. This was built in 2009. And then we built one auto hub, Batu Kawan. And now we are building one northern hub and one eastern hub. One eastern hub is somewhere around Port Klang, and northern hub in Bukit Kaya Hitam. Okay, so for those from JB, we don't have plans yet, but hopefully let's see. Like I said, the journey of discovery. So for the first hub that we built, one logistics hub, our HQ, we have interesting names for our buildings: the ship, the waves, and the lighthouse. But what's more interesting is the components that we have inside. So just now I mentioned that we have a college inside our warehouse. So as a college, we need to provide facilities that the students expect. So we have a lounge, we call it Sky Deck. There are pool tables, there are lounge chairs, and then we also have a gym. And we also have even a sky spa, a jacuzzi, and also a changing room that has fresh towels for you and lockers. So all these facilities was meant to cater to the students and our staff as well. So at that time we thought, okay, why not? Because we have a culture of providing health to our staff. So we said we need to have all these facilities, and also for students. So there's also a cafe, we call it a bistro. And Lighthouse Campus, so this is where we have an auditorium, classrooms, computer library, and computer labs, and lounge, and so on. So initially all this was meant to be for staff and students, not yet open to the public. But then as we built the next hub in Batu Kawan, this time we had an even bigger building. And this time we put the same things. We put a gym, we put a bistro and so on, but this time we open it up to public. And we made it bigger. We made it more more modern and more mainstream to everyone. So we even have a smart truckers lounge as well for truckers who drop off their goods or pick up their goods from our warehouse. So every warehouse that we put more and more facilities in. Why? Because we felt that we needed to serve a larger audience instead of just our staff and our students. And in this latest warehouse with the campus, we have brand spanking new facilities, a library, as I said, and this time our gym is overlooking the second bridge. So, but there was one thing, as I mentioned, I'm talking about journey of discovery. So when we built all these facilities, then we suddenly realized, hey, all our facilities don't need to just serve our staff and students. See here, this is the ship campus, this is where we are. When we look left and right, front and back, we have all this, as I mentioned, all the multinational companies that are already operating, say, in Silicon Valley. And we realized, hey, we got an educational institution. We got our warehouse. We don't need to just serve students and our staff. We can be providing manpower to all these eminent companies who are so hungry for manpower. And that's why now we are investing into this equipment with Robert Bosch. This equipment will allow us to train operators, factory engineers, and so on in IR 4.0 technologies. So from a warehouse provider, we expanded into becoming an educational provider, and then now we are expanding further to become even a manpower supplier and a trainer for the industry. So we are seeing PKT's role more and more as a complement to an ecosystem, a manufacturing ecosystem. Yep. So the next two warehouses that we are building, one Eastern Hub and also one Northern Hub in Bukit Kaya Hitam, will incorporate all these facilities. And we are now, every time when we build a hub, now we are thinking bigger. We are thinking about, not just our customers, but the whole industrial park. Yeah, so Sheikh Nur Fatihah, if we have a chance to build something in JB, hopefully we can also contribute to the whole ecosystem, and that will create lots of jobs for the community lah. Yep. Okay, thank you very much. That's all my pitches.
Thank you, Eugene, for the great sharing of PKT Logistic Group. I would like to invite you back to your seats now. Thank you. Right. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Eugene. Next, in the second panel session of the day, by addressing the topic of discussion on how to recession-proof your business with better cash flow management. First, we would like to re-invite our moderator, Mr. S. Jai Shankar, Sustainability Lead and Director of Oil and Gas, Chemical and Energy Section of MATRADE. Round of applause again for Jai. Thank you. Now, our first panelist for the second session will be Tuan Don Tiriadi bin Abdul Jalil. Allow me to introduce you to him. He is the branch manager of CGC Johor Bahru. Now, started his career in 2003. He has more than 19 years of experience in banking and finance industry and joined CGC in April 2021. In his current portfolio, Don is the manager of CGC Johor Bahru branch overseeing Southern region. CGC offers guarantee, financial advisory and support to micro SMEs growth and expansion. Now, Don graduated from UC Tenaga Nasional with a Bachelor of Finance with honors. Welcome on stage, Don. The second panelist is Mr. Sean Chia, the Chief Executive Officer, KLC Education Group. Sean Chia, an engineer by profession, started his career at UTC Aerospace, a Fortune 500 company. With his outstanding performance, he then quickly promoted from engineering to management role during his 7 years tenure at UTC. Now, in 2009, he left UTC and established KLC Education together with his wife, Jaslyn. Over the years, education firm grew from single digit, a few thousand students with ambitious goal of transforming life through quality education. Under his leadership, the company earned a few prestigious awards, such as the Golden Bull in 2017, JCI CYEA 2017 Top 10 category, Sinchu Outstanding Education Institute in 2018, and M-Bank Top 30 Beast Race 2019. And this is the best part. He also have a SOBA, the best use of technology, and many more. Round of applause for Sean. And I would like to welcome Sean to be on stage as well. And our final panelist, unfortunately, Mr. Sim from RHB could not join us today. However, Mr. Chin Kah Leong, the squad lead SME leading solution of RHB Bank, is here with us today. Now, let me share with you a bit about Chin. He has 18 years of banking experience in both SME and retail banking, which covers both sales, product, and portfolio management. Mr. Chin is currently the squad lead for SME Banking Solution RHB. He was part of the team that successfully rolled out the key initiative to drive and support SMEs, mainly working capitals leveraging on government guarantees and commercial cards. Welcome, Mr. Chin, on stage. And Jay, let the session begin.
Thank you very much, Raymond. As usual, you did a wonderful job in introducing everybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now onto our second panel session. Basically, the topic is how do you recession-proof your business with better cash flow management. Now, how do you manage cash flow effectively, and what are the important things to take note? I suppose these are tremendously important topics in an era where cash flow is becoming increasingly the most important aspect of running a business successfully and remaining solvent moving forward. So if I may, I will start off with Sean. Sean, maybe we can just simply start off with a very basic question. Why is cash flow so important to any business?
All right. Thanks, Jay, for the questions, and very good morning, everyone. I think there's a research showing from the US that as much as 82% of the business fail due to a poor cash flow, right? So cash flow to a business is like, humans need air to breathe, and the fish need water in order to survive. So if company running out of cash flow, they won't be able to, fulfill their payables and stuff like this. So I think that explains how important it is, right? Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Sean. That's basically from the perspective of an entrepreneur, yeah? What about Kal Yong? I mean, from a banker's perspective, right? Why do you think cash flow is so important for companies?
Yeah, I think basically I totally agree with Sean. So basically, cash flow is probably the blood flow of a company, as we can see. So if you don't properly manage the flow of the cash, the likelihood for you to actually having a shortage of cash during the time of needs will be detrimental for your business. I'll give you an example. At the times of COVID, a lot of business actually closed just because they don't have a proper backup cash or plans for themselves. So I truly agree with Sean on this point of cash flow. But most importantly as well, apart from cash flow, I think the visibility of the company itself on what they have earned and have spent is very, very important in that sense. So for us as banker, I think these are the really, really important things that we need to look into.
Thank you, Kal Yong. Don, do you, I mean, basically, do you see that with your clients as well? Do you see clients tripping and failing to make payments because they don't manage their cash flow correctly?
Yeah, Jai. Okay. Basically, yeah, both of them are correct on the cash flow because it's a blood and it's a heart of the business, the cash flow itself. Without the heart, then the business cannot be done. Okay, so the SME need the proper cash flow in order to manage the tough time in the industry.
So when you are giving out loans, right, how important is this aspect when you are evaluating an application?
Repayment capacity.
Right.
Yeah, okay. In the business, okay, we foresee the EBITDA, I mean the earning before interest, tax, and depreciation, which is a non-cash item from the business itself. Okay, from this, we assess the repayment capacity, which indirectly with the cash flow of the business. Without the repayment capacity, we can't able to recommend or make a proper judgment of the company.
So I'm going to go a bit more technical, Kal Yong, here, right? So how do you actually look into repayment capacity?
Yeah, actually, this is a very good question, because especially when you talk about COVID, and now with inflation.
Right.
So
you've got to listen to this carefully, so now you know how the bankers think, right?
so basically, when in the times COVID, right, there's always windows of opportunities whenever there's windows of threats where your business is affected. So I've seen many businesses, in fact, they are doing brick and mortar business. They actually move over and diversify their business to e-commerce. Or likewise, education, they move into online educations. All this actually has given the confidence to the banks or even to the financiers to actually look into the business proposal and to provide the financing apart from looking into the cash flow itself. So for us as bank, I think it's very, very pertinent and very important that they are not only relying on a single source. I think the earlier panelists have said it very correctly. You have to have a very robust, vigilant, and diversification process as a whole, because basically there's nothing that's gonna be constant but change. So if the business don't change, then the likelihood the business that you see that have closed down today are reluctant to change.
That's quite interesting, right? So you're looking at not only the current situation, but you're looking at their future capabilities. In that context, Sean, I mean, have you looked into diversification from a business point of view as a means to ensure that your cash flow is constantly managed efficiently?
Yeah, sure. I think the COVID had caused the global panic for the past 2 years. You know, like what Ashwin shared just now, you know, before COVID, no one has actually thought about, you know, digitalizations or, you know, trying to actually have another source of business income to, you know, in the digital ways. So the past few years, you know, the pandemic taught us that, you know, when business forced to close down, you know, we couldn't conduct our class, a physical class, and the only way that we can do, but the best part is the only, I mean, we still can go into the online teaching, and that's also opened up the opportunity that, you know, we can actually reach out to customers that we wouldn't be able to reach out before. You know, so the past 2 years we have been able to deliver our classes to different states of Malaysia, and even we have some students from Singapore, and also from China, and also we have some students who actually have to migrate to Dubai, and we, because of the digitalization, we will be able to conduct the class from Malaysia to Dubai. So so diversification is very important, and especially in nowadays. And I think we're looking at it as opportunity that we continue to invest onto it, and for the future's business planning.
But it's interesting because your diversification is still within your same sector, right? You haven't moved away. But what are your thoughts about companies that diversify away from their existing, you know, sector that they're comfortable with? And do you think that is something from a cash flow perspective, is that something that is positive in the long run?
Well, I think we have to be very careful because, you know, we're talking about diversification of business. From my point of view, you know, I wouldn't touch on the business that I'm not familiar into it, and unless it could actually synergize what the current business is doing. So from what we have seen, that, you know, the physical class and the online class is something that we can actually synergize, and the online class require very minimum, you know, overhead, and, you know, you don't need to rent a place and all this. But of course, you know, like recording class and all this, these are the things that we will also look into it, or, you know, selling teaching material, digital teaching materials. All these might be a little bit different, but then it's actually correlate to what we are doing, and we can actually diversify some of it into our business.
In essence, you're still going back to the basics, right? Which is to boost revenue, reduce cost, and find different ways of engaging your potential or current customers.
Right.
Right. But coming back to that, right? So if you do find, I mean, so Sean is clearly where he is, and because he's very focused and all that. But there could be industries post-COVID where they feel, you know what, or because of other reasons, they feel, look, we need to diversify. And at that point, there's going to be a lot of cash burn, right? The burn rate is going to go higher. How do you evaluate companies like that? I mean,
okay, it has been, to tell the truth, it has been more and more challenging for bankers or even CGC to evaluate the customers, because the transitions towards digital has become more and more faster. So the traditional way of assessing customer has to change. So, but what most important thing that we always advocate to our customers is that come and talk to us. Come and present your business plans, and if your current business is not doing well, what plans, as I said again many times, what plans do you have in place that you could actually regenerate the cash back to your business, then we can talk. I think that's most important. But what is the most important thing, as we mentioned about the cash flow, is that whenever the financial wanted to view through the business plan or proposal from business, right, it's very pertinent and very important that the CEOs or even the directors of the companies must be able to articulate clearly how they're going to use the cash flow. Because if they are not able to confidently tell how they're going to use the cash flow and can churn back the revenue, then we won't even have the confidence to provide the financing. So for those SMEs, I think the presentations of your business, of course the ins and out of your business, where the money gonna come from, is really, really important. So on RHP side, basically, we have those kind of products, means for all-in-one ecosystem kind of things. So for those SME who are not able to, and always think that, going to ecosystem can be something very expensive, we have something like Reflex or Reflect Plus, in which we will allow them to have their own cash management by their own fingertips. And we can do an API with a respective software, for example, cloud software for accounting, or even to help them in terms of the payables on salaries and something related on salaries, like the government-related payments. We have all that within our Reflect system in order to allow them to have the flexibility and, most importantly, visibility. I think a lot of business today, especially SME, what they don't have is the visibility of what they receive and they pay. I think those larger companies, yes. But SME, to my knowledge today, even today when I go for site visit with some of the people, they say, I do ask them, how do you track your invoices? How do you track all the orders? Then they'll open up the library. Oh, this is my ledger. So things have to change. If they don't change to digital, it will be harder and harder for them to compete. As you can see today, if you look through the current survey done by Accenture and Dun & Bradstreet, more and more, this is towards the 5 countries within Southeast Asia, the main countries like Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand. More than 55% of them are still very positive about the outlook of the economy, even though the economy is putting a very rosy picture. 55% within this 1,005 interviewed are actually quite positive. And within this 55%, actually 50% actually are moving towards, they are willing to spend more on digitalization, which is a very positive sign. So if today, SME, if you don't take the change, a dive to digital, then probably your peers or your competitor will do so. So my advice probably is to explore yourself, to make things simple. If it could be as simple as having a mobile phone, look into your statement, look at the daily transactions to determine what you should decide on your business on a daily basis. That would means a lot to your business.
That's interesting, right? Because for the longest of time, you would think that digitalization is, because, operationally you want to be more efficient, it's front-loaded, right? But now you're basically saying is that, guess what? There's another reason why you got to go digitalization. Your bankers, need to know more data about you, right?
I think basically the data that we're gonna collect, right, will definitely give us more comfort, in a sense that your business is performing to a certain level that we know, for sure. And second thing, we know for sure that without any much hassle, with all the supports and the cloud computing, everything is done for you. You don't need to, probably I think it's very pertinent to all SME. Every financial year end, you will delay like 2 or 3 months of your financial, just because you couldn't locate some of the invoices or certain part of transaction that you couldn't locate. But with all this technology in place, and if you're able to adopt that, they would definitely help you a lot in terms of decision making.
Thank you. Don, do you see this? I mean, do you evaluate based on how digitalized these companies are, and do you communicate this with the SMEs?
Yeah, Jai. Okay, on digitalization, okay, this whatever is mentioned is about digitalization helping the SME for keep up their record. I mean, the invoices, the bills, so they keep track on these invoices and bill, not to be overdue. More to it is on the cash flow management, is it? Okay, because when you have a bad debt, I mean, when the supplier give you a goods, deliver to goods, and you are delaying the payment because of you're not keeping track of the payment, okay, what is the consequences? Okay, the supplier may take off your credit terms, and this will be affected your company operation. Company operation being affected, and it automatically will affect your cash flow. And when you affect your cash flow, you cannot produce the goods and you cannot be delivered, and it affect overall of the company operation itself. So I mean, the digitalization is nowadays is most important to the SME to keep up their records and to keep up their tracks and to make sure the company is on track whatever they are planning to do.
And when you do meet companies, right, is that something that you tell them to? Is that something that you communicate to them?
Yeah. Yes, you know, we are in CGC. We are providing advisory and developmental program for this to the SME to be more digitalization, and we train how to be in digitalized.
Do they get better weightage in terms of loan? Is the success rate for loan application higher if they are digitalized? And
Yes.
you can see their cash flow?
Yes.
That's a big yes.
Yeah. It will help the SME to gain more, to keep track. So we are confident in the SME to give loans, to give the financing.
Offhand, just offhand, right? If you think about it, right, how many percent of the SMEs do you think in the back end they are digitalized?
Nowadays,
yeah,
I think less than 50.
Yeah. Less than 50?
Hey, if you ask me before COVID, right, it depends on what level of automation or what level of, if it's payment, I would say 80%, because today even you go to a Machi store, you see a QR code there.
Yeah.
So how define it? Because if you talk about a further level in which like supply chains and you talk about those accounting software where they manage everything through one account, I think there's much more efforts required. I think it's still what he says, less than 50%. But I think payment or collaboration with those delivery guys to deliver their foods and items, the adoption rate has skyrocketed since COVID.
Right, so wonderful. So one part has been handled, but the back end.
Yes, the e-commerce part actually has become more prominent, but the back end part where the bankers or even CGCs or even the business owners, more pertinent is the visibility of their business. That is the part that they need to work with. Because all this, if you have the visibility of your receivables, payables, you will know when you need the financing, when you not.
Wonderful. But Sean, you're an entrepreneur, right? So you see this completely from a different angle now. What do you think some of your major challenges in terms of managing your cash flow, especially post-COVID, and how did you address this?
Well, I think one of the major challenges for cash flow is basically for my business. We are collecting fees upfront, right? But then that can be a double-edged sword also, because when you collect the money upfront and then you are not managing it properly, you might overspend within your means. So, but I know that a lot of industries, cash flow is very crucial, and because that determines the amount of receiving and and the amount of spendings. Sometimes you might not get balance. So from my perspective, being able to monitor your income statement is very important. Just maybe throw a question to the floor, like how many of you review your financial report every month? Can I have a hands? Every month? Oh, good. How about every 6 months? Or every year? Or once a year? Just once a year? But
They don't review at all.
not many. All right. So not at all. All right. So I think a lot of business owners they don't review their financial statements monthly, and probably most of them are the product maker itself when they started the business. Or they start from the sales background and then they start to venture into the business. So typically they don't have the financial knowledge to review. Same as me, I was from the engineering background. When I started the business, there's a lot of financial terms that I didn't really understand. And so initially, I don't really review my account on a monthly basis. I only get to review when I hire consultants who came in and then feel that there's a need that we have to get this done accurately, get all your data done accurately, and then review accurately. But then it's not end of the month, but you have to review it probably first week of the month. What most companies did is they only review it like, after the month end closing, probably end of the month. By the time you review end of the month, it's too late already. You might overspend what you're not supposed to spend. See, so so set a target for your account to complete whatever report needed by. I set it 7 days. It's tough in the beginning, 7 days, or even I think some company they did like 3 days. Some listed company did 3 days, but do it like 7 days. Then you can quickly review your whatever statement, the income statements, cash flow statement, what are the payable, receivable, the inventories. I think inventory can kill a lot of business also, because you don't review it and your turnaround, it might take half a year. So these are the numbers that I think the business owner should be very aware of it. Yeah.
If that's the case, is that a good idea to outsource that function?
Well, I think that to outsource the unless you have a very good system in place, of course that's how we are talking about digitalization, digitize the accounting systems. The best is to adopt cloud systems, and whether to outsource. I think nowadays a lot of good systems that can almost do a lot of jobs, right? And you just probably need to hire if let's say for small business, you probably just need to hire 1 or 2 account admin to help do the daily bookkeepings. And the system will be able to help you generate a lot of reports, income statement report, cash flow report. So what you need to do is just to analyze the report. So whether to outsource or not is very much depends on all the business needs. Sometimes the best is to have your own team to do it, yourself, so that you can as and when you can need the data, because sometimes outsource, very much you have to wait until every month to get the things done. Yeah. But then if you do it,
right, then you never learn, right? And you never pick up, and you never are able to convert that into a strategic part of your business.
Right, yes. So the best is get the own teams to do it, unless you really can have a very good systems, and then you can rely on it.
Khalil, I mean, Sean mentioned something about changing, change in terms of the cost matrix and all that, right? So now we find, especially if you're doing global business and all that, suddenly his import prices will just change because of the supply chain disruption and all that. How do you all as bankers, do you all see that, and are you all able to appreciate and be sensitive about the fact that his cash position has changed so drastically and so on? How do you see that?
Just to clarify, it's more on the trades, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, basically for banks, we do have those forex, or we call it, if you do tradings, we will give you trades, then we will lump it together foreign currency trade limits, in which it will actually help you to hedge against the fluctuation of the ringgit and whatever. So that itself will give you a little bit of safety net in terms of the fluctuation. So yeah, all these, as I can say, are all within our product offerings within Reflex. So I think basically what we want to achieve basically in RHB, most importantly, is that we, for example, what Sean said is very, very clear, is that if it's best that you manage the business yourself on a daily basis. So what we talk about, the apps or the API apps that we have for cloud computing is fully managed by the own people. Right. Yes, it's not outsourced. Right. It's just that the training will have to be given to their people, and they will have instant view of their business. So that is more important. I think on top of that, basically, of course, you want to have a super app, right? So all the banks are going towards super apps. So to us, our Reflex are something like a super app to us, in the sense that when you have a current account with us, when you upgrade it to the Super Premium Plus, we will give you a visibility of the cash management, as I said earlier. You also could have the ability to actually ask for trade financing, and the last few years we have been doing a lot is the supply chain financing, meaning we allow financing to, I think CGC has part to play about this. We provide the financing to the suppliers through the principal. We provide the financing to the distributor, the small SMEs. So those happens over the last few years by using our Reflex. So what they do is they upload the invoice in the system. The principal will approve, or the distributor will approve it, and the financing will reach them instantly.
Don't you want to add to that on the supply chain financing part?
Yeah. Okay. On the supply chain, I mean they are supplying from the top, from the bottom to the top. I mean, okay. So for example, there is a company A who are manufacturing. So they are they are giving a credit term to the supplier from the downstream, and the RHB shall finance from the downstream to the until the finished product. This is the supply chain being by RHB. So it's a good thing, but I mean different business have a different cash flow management. I mean, for example, that Sean is involved in the education, so the cost of goods sold is more on the infrastructure. I mean, for the manufacturing is more on the raw material itself before it can be finished good and to be sell outside. Okay. In terms of the, I mean, how to hedge the foreign currency. I mean, if you're buying the raw material from the outside, from the overseas, yes, of course, you have a forex line, which is given by RHB. And the other way, you may have the naturally hedge over the raw material itself. I mean, yeah, you are buying in US, and the finished good you also can sell in US, USD. Right. Yeah, so this to minimize the losses, the foreign currency losses in transactions. Okay, another thing that I can add on is on the merchanting trade. Okay, this is one of the company to manage their cash flow well. Okay, say for example that there is a company operating in Malaysia, and the goods order from somewhere, I mean further up, I mean maybe Philippines, and they are using their operation company in Indonesia to import the goods or to supply the goods. So by having this, they are able to cut the cost and able to manage the cash flow efficiently.
Right. Touching about cash flow, right? And a lot of companies, you know, when there is sudden changes, of course they hedge and all that, but if they can't manage it, right, and suddenly there's this urgent need for working capital, how do you see that? I mean, are you sympathetic to SMEs which require working capital? There's always a concern that it's difficult to get working capital.
In terms of the bank views, okay, we can give the working capital for the company, but it's not that we are going to give 100% of the working capital to the company. We have to analyze the company receivable, payables, even the sales, and how they're going to pay us if we go into the financing. So basically, whatever the bank financing or bank give, I mean the booster, I mean in terms of trade, in terms of in terms of the working capitals, we just boost to the company to help the company to sustain its cash flow. However, the company have to manage it properly by considering how much they have to pay and how much they're able to generate from the working capital they receive. This is more important for the SME to strategize the business, to manage the cash flow well, and not to say the financing we give can eat up the company back. I mean, to eat up the company profitable, I mean, to eat up the company cost in paying the financing or loan to the company itself.
Very well said. Kaleong, I suppose, what are the areas that you look at? Right? Somebody comes in SME or like,
I think the misconceptions I need to clarify, especially during COVID times. I think during COVID times, a lot of people can't go out during MCO, but if you're one of the RHC customers that apply through our online financing, you will say, wow, this is innovative. Okay, just a bit of promotion.
Sure.
During the COVID period, we actually use our online financing to access to all the customers that are not able to meet to apply for loans. All what we need was IC of the directors, and the 6-month bank statements. So why was this valuable in a sense that during, as you know, the MCO 1.0, when they actually put up the initiative, a lot of people don't dare to go out, they don't dare to even actually meet people, and a lot of businesses actually, the business are closed. So how do we approach that is by using digital. And true enough, I think over the period where we started off using this to help customers to apply for the relief financing, we are able to approve, be it SRF or TRF, more than 2.5 billion loans, 2.5 billions through the online channel. So that itself is a testament. But of course, what most important is that we want to create convenience for the small SMEs. So by doing this, by the few clicks, 10 minutes, you upload your documents, doing your KYC by using a mobile phone. In fact, it's mobile phone. You can actually submit up the case. And at the same time, if you have your friendly RHP relationship manager, they will call you that actually assist you to do all that. So that itself actually is a game changer for RHP. And all the RMs that in fact, I was managing sales at the time. All the RMs were so proud of this because they're able to help those customers that need during that time.
Thank you, Kaliong. Sean, I mean, a lot of banks are now, of course, offering a lot of digital tools. While this is, of course, clearly positive, is that something that overwhelms you sometimes? Like so many tools out there, so many possibilities. Is that something difficult to understand and leverage on?
Yeah, I mean, I do receive call from time to time, asking whether, so you want this, how much, 200,000, 300,000, you just give me. Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming, we are not sure whether they are from the, scamming or, well, but one must remember, the money that you borrow, you have to pay, right? You have to pay for the interest and all this, and, make sure that you do a proper calculations based on the cash flow. But I believe that bank will only borrow money to people who are able to pay back, right? So that's what I'm saying. During the rain, a bank usually keep the umbrella when during the rain. So so make sure that you have a good cash flows. To what we practice in our company is so there's this called the dam management. This idea was from the founder of Panasonic, Matsushita. The idea of dam management is like a reservoir of water. We know that the benefit of dam is to generate power, electricity, right? But then it also serves as a purpose to actually have these flood control systems, all right? So flood control means when during the heavy rains, the dam actually, they can work as a control to, make sure that the amount of water doesn't go into the downstream, so you can close it. But then during the dry seasons, if the downstream is too dry, you can release some water. So it works like your, the reserve. So during the good times, make sure that one must remember that the good time won't last forever, right? So keep the amount of reserve. When times are bad, then you do have the reserve to sustain. So basically I don't rely too much on the the bank loan, but then I did keep I did practice to get a loan during good time, not during bad times, right? Because if during bad times, then bank become very stringent. They're screening you everything. But during good times, it's a time that you should, look into those tools available. Yeah.
That's a very interesting point, Sean. So essentially what you're saying is go to the bank as a strategic option, not as a tactical option, yeah?
Right.
That means you build for future.
Build for future.
And that's been helpful for you.
Yes.
Right. So, Kaliong, how do you, is that what most companies should rightfully do? Build on strength?
As I said, they must have a certain reasons of getting the working capital. So if the working capital comes, it's just, just to cover something that they would not recover back, I think any one of us will have worries. But if the money is were to use for good use, to improve the cash flow, then eventually they'll get paid back. And of course, when they get the payment, we will receive the payment, then it's fine. I think basically, literally today, most of the SMEs are struggling to get financing. Some are actually have the true needs of the working capital to grow the business. Now, this is where the bank and security provider like CGC and the finance ministry under SJPP will come into picture, so that we can actually give a higher loan size to the customer up to R1 million. So to say whether we will allow or not, of course, as it boils down to what's the purpose of the working capital and whether they have a really proper plan to make the prepayment.
Right. Don, I'm just curious to know, right? So, I mean, both of you are basically, work in tandem to support the SMEs, right? So, how different is your evaluation compared to, say, a commercial bank's evaluation?
Okay, Jai, first of all, I want just to add on these points. Okay, I agree on Sean, whereby they need the financing before they need it. Okay, it's different from the type of business. Okay, for example, that Sean is on education type of business, so they need a capital to get the ready of infrastructure. I mean, to get ready all the infra, and then only they receive the student. But in the manufacturing line or trading, it's totally different. So it's a different angles in a way of we as a banker, as a financial institution, to assess in overall of the company, type of the industry, or type of the business. Okay, come back to on your point of view. Okay, from my point of view, okay, we are not giving a big size, big tickets of financing compared to RHB. We are more providing to a new set-up company, a development. We are act as a developmental institutions. That means when the company are newly set up and their need of working capital to boost up their sales, yes, this is where we are coming from. Say, for example, that the established SME, they want to grow further, but they are unable to provide any collateral to the bank. Yes, we're going to guarantee the facility, but at a certain amount of guarantee fee. This is what we do.
Okay, and talking about that, right? So these will be like traditional companies, right? Manufacturing and all that, which I guess you can understand, right? But companies like Sean's one as well, right? I mean, they're services companies, they're evolving. There are a lot of startups, a lot of new economies sort of companies. How do you sort of look into that? Right? Because now the revenue model has changed, right? A lot of times now there might not even be revenue. They're looking at market share growth and then monetizing it and then do an exit plan. The whole scenario of growing business has sort of changed, right? So Don, maybe some thoughts on that?
Yeah, we managed a portfolio on the education, on the services before. So basically, the numbers of the students is the key of the business, the key success of the education in business. Say, for example, that Sean mentioned that they are collecting fee upfront. So when they are collecting fee upfront, that means they are obligated to have a proper infrastructure for the student coming in. Okay, this is what the important in the service industry, whereby you have to project that how many students you are coming to receive for the upcoming years, and you have to oblige on the infra, and you have to oblige the infra. You have to provide with to provide the proper education. This is whatever the investment have to be in the service industry compared to the other industry, type of industry.
Right, thank you. Kaliong, I mean, does RHB in that context, above and beyond services company, startups and the whole
I think
ecosystem?
we are, as a commercial bank today, we are very close knitted to Bank Negara and even to the government. In fact, Bank Negara has come up with a lot of initiative to help out the SMEs. For example, today now we have this low carbon transmission fund, We also been actively engaging with SMEs to see whoever want to go green, or they can actually look for this financing. Likewise, for those that is recovering, the business that's recovering, the bank are also still giving these funds for them to pulih. They call it pemulih schemes. So we've been working with the government, of course, with the certain funding from the government to allow SME to obtain cheap funding. Because today, if you go out, ask for a clean loan or clean facility, easily will cost you set you back easily 7, 8, or even 10%. But with this funding from Bank Negara, we are talking about 3.5 to less than 5% per annum, which is still very cheap. So we still work very closely with the government, especially with these funds to encourage and to help SMEs in a way. It's more, probably the notion of last time thinking that our banking is only thinking about profit or whatever, right, has changed much more due to the schemes that has been thrown out by the government to us, so that we could help more and more SME to grow with a cheaper financing cost.
Thank you, Kallio. Sean, it's interesting, right? So, for example, Kallio was mentioning funds offered by government or like the likes of Bank Negara. He mentioned about the low carbon transformation fund. First of all, are you even aware of such a fund, for example, and other sort of funding available?
In terms of low carbon, I'm not really aware of this because I'm from the service industry. I don't know whether is it applicable for the low carbon transmission.
Well,
I think we have to refer to the industry.
Yeah, as far as I know, yes. The answer is so. I mean, in principle, what we're saying is that there are a lot of initiatives, funding offered by or given by the likes of Bank Negara and all that through commercial banks to support a development sort of initiatives that the government is trying to promote. A low carbon transformation fund is one such example. So from SME point of view, right, for company, do you go out and do you engage with your bankers to ask, look, are there these kind of funds? Do you keep an eye on rollout of such funds by the government, for example, or is it something that you are waiting for your relationship manager to inform you?
Well, I think I'm also a number person, so I basically personally I will look into these kind of options available. But I think in terms of loans, there's a lot of options. But I think for SME, they are very much into looking into like grants, available from the governments, such as grant from like MATRADE. But we do understand that there's also a stringent process. In the past, the people have the mindset that you have to go through a broker or whatever agents in order to get your grant approvals, and these are the myths that I think the government have to explain, do more of the talk, or let the business owner to actually be able to reach out the person in charge, rather than have to go through the.
My suggestion is for SMEs as a whole, right, is to work through your chambers, work through your associations. This is something we notice. We are not moving, SMEs especially, they're not moving, they're moving individually. In Malaysia, there's a lot of chambers, a lot of associations and so on. It is always a lot more beneficial, for example, Max is here, to operate through chambers and associations, and so that when you put across even engagement with commercial banks, or you'll be able to address this perception and broad issues that you might face individually, because that then a lot of times frustrates you as an individual SME, right? It can be very difficult and very intimidating, you got to deal with all this stuff. But so that would be, I suppose, the suggestion.
I think there's a lack of the knowledge to know what are what are the necessary required documents needed. So sometimes they have to go through a lot of process.
Right. So if you do it individually, it's tough. But if you do it in an association, right, you do an engagement program. Right. Everybody was pitching, right? So let me pitch for MATRADE, if that's the case. For example, there is MATRADE Johor office.
Oh.
Right. It is always good. I would always encourage you all. I mean, if you can't get hold of them, get hold of me. But basically, go there as a group, right? So of course, you can always go there as an individual. It's all fine and good. But go there and then work that out collaboratively. Then I think it's a lot easier to push. If there are issues, then we can address it adequately. But similarly, there are a lot of other government agencies. I can understand the pain and the difficulty sometimes going about doing it, so doing it individually could be tough, but if you're doing it collectively, that could move the agenda and address if there are any misperception about how things are on the ground and stuff like that. Address it from an association point of view, because the logic of it is associations also, I think moving forward will have to play a very important role. So get yourself organized and push it forward, because individually, SMEs as it is, we are small. I mean, our SMEs are small in relative terms. And the issues out there are becoming a lot more complex. So it's good to look at it. With that, Sean, I'm going to, if I may, with the permission of the panelists, go out and maybe look at the audience and see whether there are any questions for our panelists. Any questions based on the discussions had, or anybody who has had their loan rejected by RHB, perhaps this is the time to ask. He's here. Any questions, anybody? All right. But they'll still be around during the lunch session. So if you have questions later on, feel free to look them up. Maybe I will just end it with one quick question of sort. If there are one or two things that you feel should be the most important thing for an SME in terms of managing the cash flow, what should it be, Sean?
Review your financial reports monthly, and because most of the time your income statement is, to me, is the cash flow statement is more important than your income statement.
Wonderful, very well said. Cash flow is king, right? So thank you, Sean. Kalyon?
Yeah, just probably add up from cash flow is in terms of visibility of the business. Cash. All in all, basically, what we want is probably you have the visibility on how you manage your cash flow, and going forward, how you're going to achieve that is no longer those accounting clerks. It has to be through digitalization.
So in other words, if your cash flow is good, you got to be visible to your banker.
Yes, visible to yourself, visible to the banker, so you can make an immediate decision. And of course, all this can be achieved by technology and
Wonderful.
digitalization.
Thank you, Don.
For the cash flow, I think it will be more on disciplines of the SME itself. Okay, and the one misconception of the cash flow is profit is a cash flow of the company. So the way you manage your company well will reflect your true cash flow of the company. It's not the profit of the company itself. This is my advice. Manage your cash flow well, and disciplinary is the key of the cash flow.
Thank you very much. Ribuan terima kasih to all the panelists. With that, I'd like to now kindly hand it over back to Rima. Thank you very much.
A huge thank you, Jay, Don, Sean, and Mr. Chin for such a great, meaningful discussion. Round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I would like to invite Jay, Don, and Sean to return on your seats while Mr. Chin will request you to be on stage, because next we will be having your RHB, Brian Berhard sharing session. Well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chin, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Just now we're talking about the online financing that we have during our COVID times, right? Now, introducing to you SME banking, online financing. So where you can reach this particular website, you can actually reach through smebanking.rspgroup.com, or you can actually scan the QR code over here, where you can actually do it via Google Play or App Store, where you can actually install. So the key benefit of this product basically is that you can apply the financing in 10 minutes. No kidding. 10 minutes. So what you need to do basically is to have two key documents. The identification documents of yourself, if let's say if you're sole proprietor, or your partner if you're a directorship. Second, as I say, we talk about cash flow, right? So we need something to show the cash flow, your bank statements, 6 months. So once you have that, you put it in, you do the KYC. Of course, the KYC is done digitally, no application form signed. That once you are done, we will actually have the application process, and you can view it in your app yourself. And during that time where we do our SRF on this, the relief fund or the TRF, I don't want to put the Changi name, the relief fund, right? Basically, we did offer up to R1 million to our customers by using this method. But of course, some customers are not so tech savvy that time. So what they do is they actually contact our friendly relationship manager. We do it on the phone, and we guide them how to do it. And it's probably, if you're not so good at it, half an hour will get you done. Okay? So, if you wanted to apply, but you're not sure, maybe you can come and talk to me later. I'll give you a step-by-step guide. Or our friendly relationship manager is also in here. You can go to the RHP booth. So basically, as we talk about the financing, a lot of people misconception say that our financing is very, very expensive. Today, we actually work together with Bank Negara and some of our security providers to provide financing, especially those less than 4 years of the financing of 5% or even less for existing to bank customers. We're talking about 5% fixed or 4.75% fixed, which is the effective rate. Okay, you actually compare it with outside. Basically, you're talking about 6-7% easily for SMEs. We are giving it at this. For any companies that's less than 7 years, we can actually offer up to $500,000, 500,000, 5 years. Of course, with the guarantees from the SJPP, the Finance Ministry's body to provide the guarantees. Okay, normally you go to those outside partners, right? Basically, they might charge you a guarantee fees. But for this, even we are charging you at 4.7 or 5%, right? We absorb the 1% guarantee fee. So that itself will actually elevate your cost concern in terms of the guarantee fees that you need to pay annually to the guarantee providers. For those that is more than 7 years, we also have our in-house PUMM scheme, which is called Prihatin. So we are talking about plus 1% or plus 0.5 for existing customer, and you can apply up to $1 million. But of course, if you go beyond 500,000, right, if we will give you a 5-year tenure, it's a bit difficult for you. So we will actually give you 7 years, and for those businesses are really affected, right, we will actually add in the 6-month moratorium for you, meaning you don't pay the full amount during the first 6 months after the loan financing release. That is also guaranteed by the SJPP, and the guarantee fee is covered by the bank. So, no more. So basically, in other words, if you want to talk about financing, actually we are more focused on small businesses, especially RHP. We wanted to help as many as possible for SMEs that's recovering. In fact, apart from this, we have many more programs. Like for the tourism sector, we have the TRF, which is also very cheap rate at 3.5%. But that one is for tourism sector. In fact, we have been working closely with MATA. We also have previously the TRF that we work closely with all the retailers, and we're giving quite a lot of financing for the retailers. So today, if you are a business or you know any friends that's struggling but they are on a recovery stage, right, ask them to talk to us. We are not only looking to the financial, as you can see from the statement that we ask, we never ask for financials. Does it look funny, right? For SME, I think most important thing, I believe, I agree with Sean and the rest of the panel, right? Cash flow is king, not the financials. If you can manage your cash flow well and you can show it to the bank, the chances are that you can get the financing will be higher. That's the truth. That's why you can see that over here, only 2 documents. The bank statement, which represent your cash flow, and your identification documents. So with that, I'd like to end my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean, for a very informative presentation. And now I think I shall tell my friends about what you have. Actually, it's pretty good stuff. Round of applause again to Mr. Chin. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the session has come to an end. On behalf of the SOBA 2022 Organizing Committee, partners and sponsors, we would like to thank you all speakers for sharing their knowledge with us, and also to you, our participants, for joining us in today's session. Once again, to learn more about SOBA 2022 online application process, you may scan the QR code or visit us at www.soba.com.my. Now, SOBA 2022 is brought to you by the Star Media Group, Berhad with Credit Guarantee Corporation Malaysia Berhad CGC, DG, PKT Logistics Group, and RHB Bank Berhad as our main sponsor. Round of applause for all these main sponsors, ladies and gentlemen. Talent Corp Malaysia as a co-sponsor and MATRADE as the official trade promotion partner, supported by Bursa Malaysia and audited by BDO, as well as Surya and 988 as our official media partner. Now, for those of you who are on Facebook and YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. The live feed will be remaining running for a SOBA Help Desk video. And for those attendees here at DoubleTree by Hilton JB, please do visit our sponsors booth outside and feel free to approach any of our staff to assist you more on SOBA 2022. Before I sign off, ladies and gentlemen, the buffet lunch will be served at level 1 Makan Kitchen. Do make way later on shortly after this. And once again, thank you very much for joining us. And I'm Raymond Chia, signing off from SOBA 2022. Thank you. For the panelists, would like you to request to take a photo session. Don't go first. For the guest participants, you may make way to visit our booth or straight away for lunch downstairs, yeah, at level 1. Now, panelists, I would like to request you to be on stage. We're going to do a photo shoot.